Hello everybody, Brad here with another video. Um, I like to play video games, and one of the things that I like to do is watch these videos on YouTube called Let's Plays of a video game that I might be interested in playing. And what it is just essentially a person playing the game and commenting on it in the video. And so I'm going to do something like that here called Let's Digitize. And what I'm going to do is digitize a design from start to finish. And I'm not going to be too crazy on explaining everything that I do. What this is going to be is you just kind of watch the process, and I'll kind of explain my thought process um, of what I'm doing and why I'm doing it. So we'll see if people like this. Maybe I'll do a few of these. So since I'm the one digitizing it, I'm going to do something that I like. So you might not like my design that I'm doing, but too bad. I'm the only game in town. So alright, so what I'm going to do is digitize from a backdrop. Kind of similar to what I did with the cherries video. And to bring up my backdrop, I go up to my backdrop tool and choose load backdrop. And the design I'm going to do is this skull with wings here. I like this. I'm going to hit open. Okay, and as you can see, this design has come in pretty small. So what I want to do is increase the size of this. I want this to sew out in a 5x7 hoop when I actually sew this design out. So I go back up and select my backdrop tool again, and that brings up in my properties this little window that allows me to adjust the width. So I'm going to change the width to say 6 inches and hit apply, and that'll scale it up so that it's at the scale that I want to digitize at. Now this image I just downloaded it off the internet. I just did a search for skulls, so I didn't draw this or anything. So whoever did draw it, if you see this video and you don't like that I am using your image without asking you, just let me know. I'll take it down. Okay, so looking at this image, I'm thinking I want to have a white. I'm just going to do it the way that it looks. And so I'm going to do white for these feathers and white for this skull, and I'm going to have it all filled in here and filled in here. So the first thing I want to do, I think I'm going to do the wings first, because the skull is actually on top of the wings. So I think I want them to sew out first. So what I'm going to do is go up to my artwork tool up here and choose the straight line. I still really like to digitize with just using the straight line. If I had a fancy tablet that was touchscreen or something, I might try the pen, but with a mouse and keyboard, the line is really the easiest way. So what this does is just draw a straight line from point to point. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to trace the outside edge of my area that's going to be white. So I'm just kind of carefully clicking. And what you don't want to do is click too close together. Oops, and here I just clicked in the wrong place. Backspace goes back if you're doing this. And I'm just clicking around. This part's going to be pretty boring because I'm just clicking. Oh, I just clicked off somewhere I didn't want to again. Backspace again. And I'm not worried about all the outlines and stuff down inside here. I'm doing just the outside edge of this part. Because all this in here, that's going to be detail work that I do with a running stitch. So I'm just getting the part that's going to be white. Fill in the whole part that's going to be the white fill in first. So I'm just clicking around. Almost got it. And I want this to have a little bit of overlap, so I'm actually kind of overlapping a little bit here. And the reason I'm doing that is that I don't, and I'm talking about overlapping where the skull is eventually going to be. The reason I'm doing that is that I don't want there to be any gap. So, you know, the fabric might pull, because this is going to be a pretty dense design, so the fabric might pull away when I stitch this out and leave a gap, and I don't want that, so that's why there's this overlap here. Anyhow, when I'm done, I can right click, hit close shape to make sure that my shape is totally closed up. I'm going to go and pick the color. I'm going to hit white up here, my color wheel there. And now I'm going to apply stitches to this. So I want to go to apply stitches, and I'm going to do a standard fill, just a regular standard fill. Okay, there's my fill. And I want to change the stitch direction. Right now the stitches are going completely horizontal. I want the stitches to go this way to give it kind of the illusion of, you know, the flow of the stitches going that way. And the way you change your stitch direction is up in your reform tool up at the top here. So I click that and then choose add inclination. That's what they call the stitch direction, is the inclination. Don't look at me, I didn't name it. I mean, I get it, but you know, they could have called it stitch direction. Made it easier on people. Anyhow, once I put in my inclination, I right click to generate it. And now my stitches are going this way. You can't really tell in the video that much, but believe me, you can tell when you look at it. Stitch direction can really do a lot in terms of adding kind of depth to your design. Okay, so there, once I'm done with this, I'm going to go up and choose my select tool, which brings it back to just like the normal selection here. I don't have all my points up. Now, this over here is completely symmetrical with this, so I don't need to go and trace this whole thing again. What I'm going to do instead of retracing this whole thing is I'm just going to copy. So I right-click and copy, and right-click again and paste. Now I've got two of these wings up here. Now I need to mirror image this, and your mirror image in MasterWorks 3 is not in your regular ribbon bar up here. You actually have to go under Modify, and then I'm going to choose Flip Vertical, which is going to mirror image it this way, and just click and drag, and it gives me these handy outlines. So I line up the handy outlines with my other side. It's not completely perfect, but you know what? Who cares? You know why I don't care? Because nobody's going to see my original artwork. Nobody. Nobody but me. And that's fine. That's perfectly fine. So I'm going to leave that the way that is. And now I'm going to trace the white fill for the skull. So I go back to home here where my regular tools are, go to artwork, choose line, and I'm going to just go ahead and trace in the outside edge of this part. Oop, back up a little bit. Remember, that's backspace, lets you back, and you can do that all the way back to the beginning. If you're like off on some weird tangent like this, you can backspace all the way back. So I'm just clicking around here, and if you leave your 3D off, like I have right now, it's kind of handy because you can see. I just zoomed in a little bit. You can see right through the stitches, which is convenient for tracing purposes. You know what? I didn't mean to do that. I'm going to backspace up a little bit, and I'm just going to, even though I've got all this black in here, I'm going to ignore that and just go straight through. And I'm going to let that black be on top of the white. One layer on top of another layer, not really that big a deal. I mean, you don't want to make it a habit and do it like all over the place, but I've found in my experience digitizing stuff that, you know, one layer is not going to kill you. It's not going to make your design too crazily dense. I mean, you know, if you want to take the time to like perfectly trace out exactly every area of fill, more power to you. Go right ahead. By the way, when you're zoomed in, the arrow keys on your keyboard pan around, so you don't have to go up and click these arrows up here and then accidentally click off and make a line going way out here. Use the arrow keys. See, I'm moving myself around. I'm hitting up, down, left, and right on my keyboard. Anyway, now I'm back to where I started. I hit the close shape button up here. That closes my shape off, and I right click. I'm going to apply stitches, standard fill again, just like I did before. I am going to leave the stitch direction the way that it is, at least for the time being. I might change my mind later, I don't know. Okay, so now I've got my skull part and I've got my wings. So I can, I'll put it in 3D here for a sec so we can see it. See how you can't see through that at all? Not very useful for digitizing purposes. Looks pretty, but utility is more important. Alright, so what do I want to do next? Next, I think I'm going to trace the feathers. Yeah, I'm going to trace the outlines of these feathers. And despite the fact that in this image they're pretty thick, like see how that's kind of more thick than just a single thread's width, I'm going to take a artistic license with this and use just a running stitch, and I'm going to go over it a couple of times so that it's pretty bold, but I'm going to do this whole thing as one continuous running stitch. So the way I want to do that is I go back to my artwork, my old friend the line tool, and I'm just going to start clicking. Okay, here we go. And remember, you don't want your clicks to be too close together. I am absolutely guilty of being a clicker, as John Deere calls them. See, I'm doing it right now. I'm talking about it and I'm still doing it. The reason you don't want to do that is every time you click, you're actually forcing the machine to take a stitch. So if you click all kinds of close together, then you're just forcing more stitches in there where you might not necessarily need them. So I know it's tough for you to see in this video exactly what I'm doing because there's all this noise kind of like with all this going on back here, but I'm just tracing along the lines here, and what I want to do is make this whole running stitch area, I want to make it all one continuous line so that the machine doesn't have to stop and cut anywhere. And I'm going for kind of a sketched look, so I'm not being particularly careful with the placement of my lines. And again, I'm using the arrow keys to move around in here. And I'm going over myself when I feel like it. Give it that bolder look, makes the line look a little wider. And it doesn't have to be laying right on top of, you know, where I went there before. Thread has a width to it, you know, so it actually doesn't look as bad as you think it's going to if your lines that you draw aren't perfectly lined up. It actually looks, I think it looks kind of cool. It's just kind of an aesthetic that I go for in my designs. I like them to look hand-drawn. Your mileage may vary. I mean, you can do it however you want. I mean, basically, if you can do what I'm doing, then you can do it more carefully. You know what I mean? I think I missed this inside this little feather here. And look, it doesn't line up perfectly there. I don't care. Doesn't matter. Again, nobody's going to be looking at this picture. They're going to be looking at my embroidery design. They don't know that I traced that a little bit wrong. Who cares? Go back in here and see how I can run over myself all I want. That's why I love running stitches, because you can really run over yourself. And by run over myself, I mean exactly this right here. I went all the way from there to there, and I'm going right back the same way. That's a little far off, so I'm going to back up. Again, backspace to back up. And I'm going to keep going around here. Maybe I'll go up around this corner. And if you've had enough of this, watching me click a bazillion times to make this running stitch, don't feel bad about skipping to the next part of this video if you think you've got, got the gist here. I get it. But, I don't know, maybe some of you just want to watch little blue dots appear. I'm going to do the whole thing, so feel free to skip ahead a couple minutes in this video. And also, I'm going I'm going around here. I'm going to put another stitch on top of this eventually. There's going to be a stitch that makes that real thick line there. Oh shoot, where was I? If you forget where you are, click and you'll see it just went out from where I was down there. So now I can see where I was. I'm going to backspace and go back to it, going around. And on your borders, not necessarily borders, but like see out here, I'm not even looking at the black line. I'm looking at the edge of my fill. And you might not be able to see it depending on what quality you have the this video set to. You might not be able to see the difference there. You know what? I want to back up a lot because I really needed to do. Let's see, where was I? See, this is an example of where it's nice that they let you backspace basically an unlimited amount of times. I want to go all the way down to the bottom before I start going back up the outside edge there, and I just kind of got distracted by yakking. Alright, so now we're back to here. Now I'm going to go back up this way and fill in this area back here first. And I can travel freely in this black line here because I know I'm going to cover that. By travel, I mean move where the stitch is stitching. And I'm not being totally careful about this because I'm, I want this video to take all year long to play out. Anyway, we're just going around here, go up into that one, and I am guilty of clicking too many times. I'm not like some kind of super professional digitizer though. I do stuff wrong. I do know I'm not supposed to though. You want to avoid clicking like that. I mean, there's exceptions to every rule, and no rule is so hard and fast that you can't break it now and again. It's a good habit not to click too many times. Good habit to get into. So now I'm filling in this outside edge of this here. That's a little too far away. There's going to be a gap here. That's a little too far away from where my actual stitching, my actual fill stitch is. You want to be right on the edge of where your fill stitch is when you're doing this. And I just noticed part of this inside of this other feather here that I missed, so I'm going to travel up into inside here, get the inside of that feather, and then I'm going to go back up and around, backspace, go back up, going too fast, back up around the edge of it here to get where I missed right there, and then travel back up where I just sewed, and then back down, back up. And if you can figure out your then go right ahead and don't run over yourself as many times as I'm doing. Like I said, it's really kind of a personal preference. I like to do it this way. I like to have the outlines look kind of gritty and hand-drawn. You might not want that, and if you don't want it, then you just kind of gotta look at it and see what path is gonna go over itself the least amount of time. So you may want to print out your artwork and kind of draw with a pen on it to figure out it's like a maze basically. And I was never good at mazes as a kid, so I just break all the rules and click anywhere I want to. Alright, we're just about done. Bring it back down here. Bring it back up around here to keep this line as thick as the other ones around it. And I'm going to right click to generate it. Hit black to make it black up in my colors up here. And then apply stitches and make it a running stitch here. And then not only do I want this to be a running stitch, but I'm going to go to my properties and make it a double running stitch. Hit apply. Okay, and what that's going to do is run over itself twice. So that any areas that I forgot to go over at least twice, well, they'll have the running stitch in there. I'm going to go in and add in these 3 thick parts. I'm going to go in and add those in last. They're going to be a fill stitch. Okay, so now I've got my running stitch here, and you know what? I changed my mind about something. Before I made this, I'm going to delete this one. You know what? I'm going to hit delete, and I'm going to highlight my white and my black outline together, and I'm going to copy these two. Copy, paste, and then now go up to modify and flip them. And I'm going to move this whole thing. That way my outlines don't get misaligned, rather than, you know, trace that whole thing again. There we go. I think that's going to work better. Go home, draw 3D. Awesome. Let's see, we want this. I'm going to drag my skull part so that it sews out after this stuff. So if you click and drag stuff in your field up here, then you're changing the sewing order. So I'm going to have my wings sew out together, and I'm going to have this sew out here. So I've got right wing, left wing, skull, running stitch is the order so far. Okay, so turn the 3D off so I can see what I'm doing. Now we need to get the details. That's the fun part, is the details in the skull. First, I'm going to go all the way around the whole outside edge of the skull. This whole black, thick line I'm going to do. And the way I'm going to do that is just like before, artwork, straight line. And this time I'm going to trace both the inside and the outside edge of this line. So I'm going to do the outside edge first. Remember, don't have to be perfectly exact. Nobody's ever going to see your original artwork. And also remember, don't feel bad if you want to skip ahead. This is far and away the longest video that I've made. I just, you know, I thought it was a good idea to do something like this, just so you can see the whole process from start to finish and talk about why I'm doing the things I'm doing. I feel like if I was learning to do this, it's something that I would watch. Because, like I said, I like to watch those Let's Plays on video games, and they can be like an hour long, too. Alright, so close my shape up here, close shape, this button, and right-click to generate that. And now I go to my artwork again, choose line again, and this time I'm tracing the inside edge. And what we're going to do is combine these two lines so that I end up with like a closed shape that's just this outline. And what we're going to do is turn this into a column stitch. Now I haven't done my video that I plan to do on how column stitches work, but you'll get like you'll get a taste of that here when I make this video, or when I make this column stitch rather. A column stitch, you can control the stitch direction throughout the entire thing. It's like lettering is always a column stitch, and if you look at like a piece of lettering, the direction of the stitches changes all the way around the whole letter. You know, so it kind of looks, it just makes it look pretty, really. And it's also a satin stitch by default anyway. I mean, you can do a column stitch as a fill, but traditionally it would be a satin stitch. So a column stitch can only be so wide, because remember, a satin stitch you can only sew out like 10 millimeters or so wide. Alright, so anyway, I close my shape, right click. Now I'm going to hold down the control key and click over here on my object tray. I'm going to click on both of these to make sure I've got them both highlighted. And I'm going to move my mouse over them so I get the little hand. See the hand? Right click. I don't know why my menu just did that. That's weird, but I hit combine. Okay, and it's just combine that into one piece. Now I'm going to go to apply stitches and choose column. Now, because I can choose my stitch direction, I have to go in and set my stitch direction here. and I have to do it throughout the entire thing. So I'm going to have my stitch direction this way here, like this, and what I'm doing is left clicking one end to the other in this little space here. Again, I use my arrow keys to move up through the design. So all along here, anytime the stitch direction needs to change, like here, so the stitch direction is going to go here, this way, and it automatically computes the difference between these two, so you don't have to put them in everywhere, but anywhere that there's like a major spot that's different from the other spots, like right here, this bend, and this bend, and this bend, I'm putting in these inclinations. That's what they call them, inclinations, to set my stitch direction. Now I'm going to right click to generate it. I'll put it in 3D so we can see it, see how it looks. Looking good. See how that covered up where my gap was there? Yeah, buddy. Okay, we're gonna turn off 3D and keep on trucking. Okay, so now we need to go in and trace the rest of this thing. So I want to do this stuff in here, and look, this and this are symmetrical. Anytime you see symmetry, you should be happy because you only have to do it one time. Alright, go into artwork, line, start tracing. And you know what I love about digitizing like this is it's no more difficult than tracing. I mean, it's literally, I am just tracing. I didn't make this image. I couldn't draw my way out of a paper bag. You know, I'm not artistic, I'm not creative, you know, in that way. It's just not, it's not something I can do. I can't draw. But I can trace, and all it takes is knowing what these different buttons do. Is really, that's it. That's what I know how to do, is I know what the buttons do. Okay, so I drew this part in. I want this to be a fill, so apply stitches, fill. I'm going to go and do the next spot, which is going to be this part of his eye here. Up, down, here. I'm going to take a little liberty here and cut this off right there. Bring this up around. This is going to be a weird... There we go. Sorry, I'm concentrating. I hate to have dead air. Like dead air on a radio show. Alright, right click and make it a fill. Let's see if that worked. Good enough government work, I guess. And hell, why not? We'll do half his nose while we're at it. You know what? That's stupid. Let's not do that. Let's just do the whole nose. It's small enough. Okay, just tracing around this nose. And any design, I don't care what it is, it can be broken down in this way. Apply, fill. You know, you can make anything. If you just sit there and trace enough shapes, you can make any design. I don't care what it is. The key is not to be intimidated and to look at it as a series of shapes. Oh, look at all those clicks. I am a naughty, naughty digitizer. Okay, so now I want to copy the eye pieces and paste them to the other side. So I hold down Control. I'm going to have to put my mic down for a second. I was holding down Alt. That's why it wasn't working. Hold down Control and click these two. Move my mouse over them and right click. Choose Copy. Paste, modify, flip horizontal, and move these guys over here. Works for me. Alright, and the rest is what you think. You just go in and trace the rest of this here. So I'm going to start. I'm going to go take this line out of here. Oops. I'm going too fast here. I'm messing myself up. That was sloppy. That's alright though. Don't care. I just want to get this done now. Alright, there. And we're gonna copy, paste it, and oops, modify, flip it, put it over there. Groovy. Now we want to go back to artwork, line. Oh, I'm clicking too much again. Alright. That wasn't enough. There, there. Sorry, I'm mumbling. I have a habit of mumbling to myself as I digitize. Really, as I do most of anything, really. I'm kind of a mumbler. Alright, so we go in there, and I'm just tracing around. And I'm going to leave the bottom, because I'm going to do that as a column stitch. But I'm going to go in and do these little divots here, because they use a little bit of negative space on this drawing to kind of imply the teeth without actually drawing the teeth. So now we go back up to the beginning and apply stitches and standard fill. Okay, wait a minute. I just put black all over these teeth. That's not what I wanted to do. Alright, I'm going to undo. Undo is up here. Green arrow. So I'm leaving this as artwork, and now I'm going to go in and draw the teeth, and I'm going to combine this one with the last one I just drew, and it'll actually cut the teeth out. This, it doesn't matter if I click too many, because I'm not actually creating stitches here. I'm creating just an outline to cut. Okay, so now I control, highlight both, get my hand, right click. Don't know why my mouse or my thing did that again. That's weird. Hit combine. Okay, now I can fill. Haha, now the teeth are there. And my last little bit is going to be the bottom of these teeth. Drawing them in. I'm being pretty sloppy because I'm excited. I'm almost done. Okay, apply stitches. And I'm going to show you a secret trick. If it's not too complicated a fill, you can do for your column here. If it's not too complicated a line, you can just hit auto and it'll put the inclinations in for you. Alright, let's put it in 3D and see how we did. That is wicked. I like it. I like it a lot. File, or go up to the little MasterWorks ball anyway. Save as. Save it as a BLF file first. Skull Wings. Save it as a BLF. Save as a PES. Oops, my computer actually ran out of memory and made me stop the video, which happened earlier. There's like a ding sound, and I thought that it was a fluke, but anyway, no. So anyway, file, or the little ball thing again, and save as. This time I want to save it as a PES file, and hit save. Oh, I already did it. Well, yes. Alright, so that's it. That's digitizing with me. If you like that, then good. It was kind of fun. Now I have this cool digitized skull with wings. Maybe I'll sew it out for my one of my shirts. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you on the next one. Thanks.